So I've had to move the surfboard down to my small basement because it's too cold out still for the filler to dry. And I also want to do a little painting on this board, and I'll get to that in a second. So what I want to talk about in this video is artwork and some preparation before glassing. First thing I want to cover is lamination paper. If you want to do a logo of some sort or artwork on your board, you can get this paper. I think some types they call it rice paper. This is lamination, I think lamination paper. You can run it through an inkjet printer. It's kind of got mangled here a little bit, but anyways, you run it through your inkjet printer, and then you can cut this out, and then you put it underneath when you're glassing, when you're doing your lamination coat, and this paper becomes clear once epoxy or polyester resin saturates it. So that's how you can do some artwork as one way. So this is just some stuff I have. So I'm just gonna put this away. The next thing I want to talk about is, so now that the board has the filler, the spackling is dry, I'm going to take a sanding block and just sand and smooth off the rough edges. Just as simple as that, just like if you're sanding drywall. Hopefully you haven't made it too thick and have any lumps. This should only be just knocking down the high edges and smoothing it out. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm tinting this board, but I'm tinting it a blue, and so this step is optional, but artwork wise, what you can use is paint like this, acrylic paint, and you could do a design right on the board, paint it whatever way you want. What I'm doing is I'm going to do the whole bottom blue so that I have a bit of a back color before I tint, because unfortunately the problem with epoxy is if you have any high or low spots or little divots that you've missed when sealing, or if you didn't do that good of a job sealing, which I've done a so-so job, it has a tendency for the resin to pool there, and it's going to look darker than the other parts of the board that don't have the resin pooling. It kind of gives it a blotchy look. This is just an experiment that I'm going to do. Hopefully this works out for me. If this is your first board, I don't recommend you doing this. It's up to you, you know, from here on out, let your creative process take over. You know, look up how you can do different types of artwork. This is just one way. And I've mentioned it before, I think. Very important, use water-based paint. Don't use an oil-based paint. So this is just some cheap stuff I got at Michael's. But I won't get to that right yet. What I want to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about lamination. And when you laminate, you can do something that is called a free lap or a cut lap. I am going to do a cut lap. The difference between the two is when you're laminating with a free lap, you are just laminating it into the board, and the strands of fiberglass are free on the board. The cut lap, on the other hand, is you're taping off a section of the board, and then you are actually removing the portion of fiberglass that you don't want, so you can get a nice cut, I guess a spot where there's a demarcation between one section of the board and the other. And you generally see that on boards that are around the rail. You get that kind of all the way around. That's typically a cut lap. How we do that, I'm going to mark it using my little tool here. And I've measured out that it's roughly about 1 inch. And this tool, my little foam tool with a hole and a pencil, I'm just going to mark about 1 inch roughly in from the rail. So it's going to just start here. It's not the most ideal spot to be doing this, but it's not bad. This actually came out pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the inside here off and paint up to it. So when I laminate my bottom first, I'm going to wrap the rails with the glass, and there's going to be tape here. So this is more of the explanation of the cut lap. I apologize, it probably wasn't too clear earlier, or wasn't clear at all. The fiberglass is going to overlap on top of the tape that's here. We're going to cut this out, and then we're going to peel off the rest of this. So that takes away the color. So we're only going to have color up to this line here, and then we're going to laminate the top. That's about as simple as it gets. So I'm going to just clean this up a bit more, and then I'm going to paint it. And I'll just show that I'm just going to use the paint with a foam brush and just paint the bottom of the board. It's that simple. Okay, so I'm just going to start painting. I decided that at first I was going to tape this off and then paint it, but now I'm just going to freehand it really quick. You can tape it off, doesn't really matter. I'm going to tape it before I do the glassing to do the cut lap. I just want to mention one other thing is, once this is done, even if there's like a paint bleeding or it doesn't look right, I don't get the line perfectly straight, I am going to do a pinstripe on top of that once the glassing is done, and that kind of hides your crimes. So it hides your cut lap if it's not very good, or if it's a little jaggedy. It's a way kind of to, you have a little bit of play, not too much, but anyways, you won't see that for quite a few videos, and for, I would say, quite a few weeks, if not maybe a few months, because it's still so cold out. Anyways, just gonna start painting, and if you want to watch this, go ahead. If not, skip, and hopefully we'll get glassing on this board within a month, I'm hoping. but still very cold outside.